Alrighty. Welcome back to Goldpilled. Does the sound work okay? It's been a long time. Me miss you long time. Man, what have I been up to? First of all, what have you been up to? Okay, that's the real question. That's why I'm here, to guide you into the promised land, where you're not ashamed of yourself for being a white dude. You get a wife, you get some kids, you have a job, and you stop freaking out about a bunch of nerd shit. Okay. Man, I haven't posted in a long time. I'm an addict. I actually just celebrated 16 years sober on Sunday from drugs and alcohol, and I don't remember when I quit whacking off, but it was in 2016, right after Trump got elected. I was like, you know what? I can't whack off. Like, that's so effeminate. We're back. We're gonna win, and if I'm gonna win, I'm gonna stop whacking off. So I stopped whacking off and stopped looking at porn in 2016. Which, when I tell young guys that, they're astonished that I did that. Yeah, it's called getting a wife, okay, and keeping her happy to the extent that you can get laid. Maybe after a dinner, some drinks. It's great. It's holy. God loves it. All right. Well, I haven't posted anything on Facebook. I deleted my Facebook. I deleted my personal Instagram. I deleted my personal Twitter. Then I reinstalled it. But I haven't been posting anything because I find myself in these Wikipedia K-holes every night. Now I'll look down at my watch and it's like, I'll look at the phone and it's like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, I'm committing the sin of curiosity. Can you hear that HVAC noise through the... No? Okay, good. It's hot as shit in here. All right. Yeah, so I've been absent. I bought a refurbished 2019 Fire tablet, as you may know. It was for $40 on Amazon, and it sucked, and I liked it. And even the pictures I would post from the camera, like they had not updated the firmware, so like it's so bad. But I used that. I tried to cope with that for a little bit, but I'm going to start using like Hootsuite or whatever to just do blasts on socials and then comment from the browser version. So that's what's been going on. I haven't been active. I've been working. I've been trying to provide for my family. And at the end of the day, when Zandy left, there was a hole in my heart and a hole in my production skills. So we have a new producer today. He will go unnamed. He or she will go unnamed for the time being. But gratefully, he's here to listen to the sound and run through the production as much as I know how to do it. So yeah, I haven't posted anything online in a long time, but I'm here. I'm queer. Get used to it. I'm just kidding. Speaking of that, there was a rabbi who came to a local parish in December of last year to tell us why the Bible was gay. Okay, and so I show up. It goes in the big, like, Catholic group chat. I'm sure there's feds in there. I don't care. And if my federal agent is watching, I hope you have a blessed day. And I really do wish happiness and peace upon you and your family. You don't have to do this anymore. Okay? I'm small potatoes. I'm sure there's an AI bot scraping everything I say from my phone. Per Project Prism, which was released, all those docs released, and they're just spying on us at all times. Anyway, I found out that this Jew was coming to the church to tell us why the Bible supported sodomy. And I was like, okay, we complain about this all the time. It's the whole, like, if you go on racist Twitter, okay, that's all it is. It's just complaining, kvetching, if you will. That's what they say. So I decided to go. And I went, and of course they weren't recording it for the internet because we're in the South, and if they don't want to be on libs of TikTok. Although it wasn't so egregious, there was no blue hair or anything. It was actually the rabbi, okay, was actually pretty funny, and I do appreciate Jewish humor. It's one of my favorites. So I get there, and she comes up. She's like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Good." She's like, "Thanks for coming." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Yeah. Then she proceeds to spew the most heretical things that a Christian could say, but of course she's not a Christian. So it was interesting because she tried to say that Jesus was likely queer, that the Levitical laws were null and void because they included shellfish, which is a classic argument. All right, so if you encounter a homosexual or someone who is an ally, and they say, well, the Bible, it says that you can't eat shellfish or like have mixed fabrics. So the spandex you wear, which you shouldn't be wearing anyway, that's mixed fabric. You're outside of the law. And to that, all you say is, yeah, there's a difference between the moral law and the ritual law, right? So these were two different things. You had the purity laws, like don't wash your hands after you poop. If you get a scaly infection, I've been reading through, what is it, Deuteronomy or Leviticus, and they're like, the amount of scaly infection information in the Bible is actually remarkable. It must have been a huge problem. They're like, if the scaly infection produces a white hair, then it's bad. I guess it means it's killing the follicle. I don't know, but and these are the laws given down to God by to Moses by God. So you gotta make sure you got the scaly infections, and if you have sex with a woman who's on her period, you can't go. You gotta like purify yourself and all that. Which naturally, okay, you take a shower, and since they didn't have detergent grade soap, which by the way, that's what it is. It's just detergent. Like all the body wash you use is literally like they classify it for tax purposes and import and all that as a detergent. And I learned that from a pretty cringe, like neo-masculine soap ad. And then I looked into it and it's true. Like Sasquatch, like bars or something, some bullshit. So anyway, where was I? Oh, the Levitical laws. So she proceeds to do this, blah, blah, blah. And though I will say, to her credit, she gave one caveat. She said, now, before we begin, first of all, I'm going to use, this is not to her credit, but the next thing is, first of all, I'm going to use the umbrella term queer, okay, to describe all the LGBT identities because they are, they're vast and the acronym is a bit cumbersome. Okay, so I'm just gonna say queer. I think you all know what I'm talking about, though when I started talking about queer issues back in the 80s, not many people knew. Okay, in fact, they tried to disband the journal that I was writing in because we used the word queer, and it said it could be offensive to the queer community, though they had already been co-opting that term. Anyway, so as we proceed, the second thing I want to say is that just because Jesus didn't explicitly condemn homosexuality or any queer issues doesn't mean that he agreed with them. Okay, it's actually a very weak argument because the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. And I was like, okay, fair enough, lady. I could probably in fact, maybe I should interview her. Maybe I should call her up and do a Skype interview with this lady. She'd get on the Zoom and realize it was me and be like, "Oi, oi, bae. This schmuck, I'm kvetching." So anyway, I'm just kidding. But she says something like, have you ever noticed how Jesus never hung out with married couples? He seemed to hang out really with just men, solo. And I don't know. You can read into that what you will. And I'm like, what? And so I raised my hand. She's like, oh yes. Now it was a rhetorical question, of course. But I go, hey. Yes, sir. I go, yeah, but the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, right? She's like, very good. And at that moment, she knew. She knew I knew. That's all I'm going to say. She knew I knew, and she knew that I was going to be an issue. So she gets done with her thing, and my hand shoots up. And I go, listen, this might work on evangelicals. This might work on Protestants who are sola scriptura, right? Because she used a term which I like quite a lot called bibliolatry, which is basically worshiping the Bible. It's obviously kind of a gross overgeneralization of what some Protestants do, but if the referent point, if their referent point is the Bible only, and that's the only thing that they can pivot on, then yeah, I mean, it's at least some sort of idolatry in a way, in a weird way. like idolizing the Bible itself without any of the context. And that's how you have 30,000 different denominations. But in any case, I'm like, I agree. Bibliolatry is bad. And she's like, okay. And I go, but we are the Catholic Church. And one of the things she tried to say is a classic trope of the homosexual, the same-sex apologists or whatever, that Sodom and Gomorrah was simply a tale about being inhospitable, right? So Sodom was destroyed because the angels came and the townsfolk wanted to rape them. I mean, that's probably like 1/3 of the reason why it was destroyed. But at the end of the day, like that's not just why it was destroyed. The city was totally degenerate. They were probably doing all sorts of crazy witchcraft sacrifices, stuff even worse than clinical abortion. I mean, because they didn't even have clinics back then. Okay. So, yeah. So she's like, they were inhospitable. And the word sodomy, it actually comes from the word in Greek called malakoi, which is based in the letter to the Hebrews or whatever by St. Paul. And it means simply the effeminate, okay? It technically means the soft ones, soft boys, okay? So all the soft boy shit that I see on Instagram now, where it's like, it's like K-pop, like, ooh, yeah, bubbly toes, yeah. Like that, it's malakoi. But it means effeminacy. And effeminacy is not just like acting like, well, I vowed to not use these words. So I'm going to filter myself. Okay. It's acting like a guy who's light in the loafers. Okay. It's not just that. It's pleasure seeking and comfort seeking that is unbecoming or not proper to a man. Okay. Now, women, they're feminine and they're comfortable. And again, to the single men, wives are soft and they smell good and they talk good. Okay. And when you hear their voice, you're like, unless they're mad. When they're mad at you, you're like, okay, yeah, shut up, please. Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. It's like hearing a screeching baby. Some men are good with it. Ladies, and there's no ladies watching this and probably never will. But if there's women watching this, just to let you know, if you're courting a man or you have a child and your husband's even seems cool with it, like, oh no, hand me the baby. Oh, let me, what do they call it? Skin to skin. Ugh. Let me skin to skin on my hairy, nasty chest. I did a fish fry all last night. I'm coated in now brake fluid from getting this stud finder out of my truck and fish, like fish soybean oil, which the chef and we talked about it, and he didn't pick that oil. The Knights of Columbus guys did. Anyway, I'm coated in that. Do I want to put my baby on my foul follicles? My hair, my body is gross. Men are gross. Women aren't. Women are gross in a way, but men are just, anyway, if your husband says, no, hand me the baby, let's do it. No, he's stocking up brownie points for later. Okay. I'd say probably 10% of men aren't fazed by children screeching in the house. So women are soft. They're awesome, but they're not malakoi. They're not the soft ones. That's not what St. Paul was talking about. Probably the nearest, it was probably pejorative, in fact. The Bible, I think we think of as this, these saints were perfect. St. Paul was like, that's how we think. It's inerrant. And so because it's inerrant in the Catholic sense of the word, these saints were perfect. No, they were speaking like Koine Greek or whatever, like the vulgar Greek, and like Aramaic, which was kind of like a backwater dialect. And they used common speech. These weren't like princes, this wasn't Caesar's son. These were like fishermen. They used rough language. Have you ever met a fisherman or like a construction worker? They're not like that's, I think we look at the cathedrals today and we're like, oh yes, Catholicism, the thinking man's religion. No, it's a peasant religion and we need to keep it that way. Okay. We don't need to get, as we say in the South, too big for our britches, but this is now the third rabbit hole that I've gone down. Anyway, this Jewish Old Testament scholar was trying to say that like same-sex relations weren't really looked down upon, and da-da-da-da, and like that the Bible can be interpreted in these ways. So I raise my hand and I say, hey, listen, it can work on evangelicals, but it can't work on Catholics because we have the magisterium. And if you read the church fathers, she's like, oh, yes. I was like Justin Martyr or Ignatius or any of these guys, they know what sodomy means. And we know what sodomy means. And it's degenerate, you know? And I don't understand why this is happening in this church. You know, I don't understand that. I mean, I thank you for coming, I suppose, in a way. But I don't agree with anything you're saying. And she's like, okay, well, let me address. So she goes in, and then I say something back. Then she says something. Then I was like, and she goes, okay, that's enough from you. Thank you. So I gave her a good pushback. And then this schizo dude in the back of the room with like a very worn, like painter's mask that you get at Lowe's. Like, even the libs, only some of the libs. By the way, the only people there were like old people and homos with like super, super tight, you know how they do with it's like skin fade, and they look a little too manicured. There were a few of those there. And the guy in the back, he raises a hand and she goes, yes, sir. And he goes, so why does the church say that sodomy is a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance? I'm like, that's all I had to say. That's the most distilled. You know the IQ meme where it's like the caveman, then the midwit, then like the monk with the hood. I was like, well, you know, the magisterium, see Justin Martyr and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why does it say it's a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance? And she's like, I'm sorry. The church says sodomy is a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance. Can you explain that? She's like, I'm sorry. Is that in Genesis? No, lady. Did you not do your research? Like, we're the final boss of Christianity. And you came into the ring with this like, hey, you know, the Bible that you guys interpret by yourselves, you need to take my interpretation and go spread it. That doesn't work on us. We're the final boss. Okay. And it's never going to work on us. Pope Francis today or yesterday comes out and says the most like disorienting evil of our time is gender ideology. Now he's a confusing man and I'm not a huge fan based on what I've read. I've seen him in person before I was Catholic. I gave him a wave and he was probably 50 feet in front of me and he didn't wave back at me, but he was doing his papal wave, you know. I don't know why they do that. It's like, they kind of do this, and I get the Queen of England does this as like a, yes. But they do this like, it's kind of an uplifting thing. It must be like an Italian thing or like a, I don't know, like a European thing. Is everything going all right on the computer? Oh, you're fact checking. What did he call it? Ugly ideology. The ugliest ideology of our time is gender ideology. Sorry, Father James Martin. Oh, the ugliest danger of our time. James Martin he's coping and seething right now. It's glorious. All the left caths, look, listen, I understand if you're watching this, you're left cath, just hang on. Okay. I used to be that kind of person, but I wasn't Catholic. Anyway. So that's what's going. So you can't mess with us. Like you have to get past us. We're the 10,000-pound elephant in the room. Anywhere in the world, except for the Muslim countries. Like they're the ones, and the Hindus. Hello, buddy. How are you doing, buddy, today? Oh, speaking of that, Indians. Okay, so I confronted the Jewish lady, and then afterwards the guy comes up, and he's like, man, I just don't know why she's even at this church. Sodomy's a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance. And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, have you been watching the news? You know? I mean, this happens. So anyway, that was remarkable. I'll go into the Indian thing later. I was going to talk about how atom bombs are really Vedic magic, but I can save that for another time. All right, what else we got? Okay, so I went on a silent retreat this past weekend up in Boston, much needed. Came back, it was awesome. Boston's great. New England's different. Like the Yankees really are different than us. And I'm from Nashville, and People in the outer counties think I'm a Yankee. Okay. But going up there, those are some real deal Yankees. Now, I love the way they talk. It's very funny, and they're actually kind of jolly in a way, like at least the people in Boston. Anyway, the priest there was like an Opus Dei thing, and Opus Dei. I don't know. I'm not Opus Dei, but it was a good retreat. The priest was like a cross between Joe Biden and JFK. He spoke with this kind of Brahmin accent, and he was a Harvard man. And he was ancient, but he spoke, and the reason I say Joe Biden, because he looked more like JFK, is that when he spoke, he would talk in circles. He would say, so you have to get on the team. It's time to go. Let's go. Like that, he would pepper that like every 20 seconds. And you're like, okay. I'm glad these talks are only 30 minutes long, dude. I mean, I'm dying over here. It was almost it was like more penitential than he didn't even mean it to be. Anyway, it was good. All right, but I'm getting back. Oh, wait, before I go, next, there was a monument in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I've been to Plymouth once before when I went to Boston. I've only been there twice before, and I went to go see the rock, 1620. It's carved in. It's fractured. They put some cement in there in the 70s. You can tell it's 70s cement, Like everything in the 70s is like Bauhaus, yeah, and it's just kind of grimy and like, they think it's new and it's going to be the forever tech, but it's never is. And that's probably how people are going to think of us now. It's like, oh yeah, my iPhone 15. I shot this commercial in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And now it's like looking at those old nostalgic high school videos from like, look at the high schoolers in 2002. I was in high school in 2002. Okay. I'm an elder millennial here, and it was awesome. There was no phones. Nobody had a camera. Everybody talked the way they wanted to talk, and it was great. We just ran around. It was great. Anyway, we go to the Pilgrim. We go to the Plymouth Rock, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, can you imagine being an Indian? Feather, not dot, of course. Not hello, buddy. Like, can you imagine being an Indian where your kids are probably frolicking on the shore, though it was cold, I think, when they came over. So maybe not. They're like in their wigwam or whatever, doing a sweat lodge. You know what? The sweat lodges, the whole like Indian thing now, and I've got an Indian friend. He doesn't look Indian. He's white. Okay. And you know who you are. But my wife was making a Trail of Tears joke at a party, and I was like, oh. And he's like, well, I'm Indian. And she's like, no, you're not. You're a white guy. Yeah. What are you? Part Cherokee? Everyone is down here. Sure. And he pulled out a literal race card, like a literal, I belong to this tribe card. And he grew up on a reservation. And Rebecca was like, oh, well, okay. That's my wife. Anyway, I was like, can you imagine being an Indian? And then these crazy white people show up that you've never seen ever. Like maybe an albino. They're all albino. And they're wearing these like weird, tall, pointy hats with a buckle. And they have these huge wool capes that are flopping around and flowing. And they got those white socks that come up. And then their little buckle shoes with the same buckle on the hat. You'd probably freak. I would freak out. So there's a huge statue of an Indian, and it was in honor of the Indian who like gave them their first stuff for like first food or whatever. I don't know why, but he was wearing a loincloth with moccasins. Now, I'm not sure if the sculptor took creative license or not, but the moccasins had a cross on them. So I'm hoping he was baptized. In any case, they wore loincloths in the winter. That was one of the hallmarks. They came over, the Pilgrims came over, the Puritans, by the way, and I was with a Protestant, and he was loving it. And he's like, man, look at that. Like God, it's all about the monument. And I'm like the little area around the Plymouth Rock. And I'm like, yeah, but they didn't celebrate Christmas. Okay? They thought it was popish. So they didn't even celebrate Christmas. They were not Merry Christmas. They were Happy Holidays. Okay? And he's like, is that right? I'm like, I think so. In fact, can you check that? Did the Pilgrims celebrate Christmas? Anyway, so I'm looking at it and I'm like, the loincloth, when they came out of the woods and stood on the shore in loincloths in the winter. And I've always thought that was astonishing until I read Wim Hof's. Did they celebrate Christmas? No? It's never mentioned in Scripture. That's what they said. No Christmas for you. Of course, no Santa. And I know many of you are like, Santa's just a pagan arch elf. And he kind of is. But at the same time, I'm a Santa enjoyer. Okay? I love St. Nicholas. I love the lore. The little jolly arch elf, the Germanic arch elf. That's fine. I'm fine with that. It's like Tolkien. Okay? If you're into Lord of the Rings and you don't like Santa, you're wrong. You can't do that. I'm sorry. So anyway, we're looking at, they came out in loincloths. They were free. They weren't cold. And I've always wondered why. And then I read this book called, I don't remember what it's called, by Wim Hof, who's this, he's called the Iceman. Wim, Wimhoff. Wim Hof, I believe is his name. Is this right? Wim Hof, Iceman? Is that what his name is? Okay, Wim Hof wrote this book. This guy's a freak, okay? He swims in like Arctic waters in gym shorts. He doesn't get cold. He goes up mountains in his shorts. And I'm reading this and I'm like, this is incredible. What a freak. He's a genetic freak. He's like Derrick Henry for the Titans. Like, he's just a freak. Like, he doesn't even have to practice. No, wrong. There's two kinds of fat that people have in their body. White fat and brown fat. Two different adipose tissues. The brown fat, to my knowledge, covers like the organs, the vitals, keeps those warm, which is your core temperature at the end of the day. And the white fat is like around your skin and everything, or under your skin. So the Eskimos have been tested for brown fat content, and they have like triple the brown fat we have, and they don't get cold like we do. And so the Indians had like massive stores of brown fat, and meanwhile the Pilgrims are like not celebrating Christmas and like freezing to death. They literally did. There's a whole monument, which I'll get to, about how many of them died. Like half of them died on the trip. There was like a lot of them. I don't know how many there were, but like a third of them died on the trip. And then like half of those who made it died that next year because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to eat. It's winter and like gross. They've never been there. They don't know how to grow anything. Like the soil's different. But anyway, so we go to this pilgrim, the monument of our founding fathers. And as the guy's reading it off, I'm like, I don't know. This sounds a little weird. And as a Catholic now for 10 years almost, I'm just like, that seems off. And we get there, and in the little section about it, it's, I wish we could pull it up. Like we will. In the future episodes, we'll pull it up, like, and have it on the screen. It has like truth, justice, and like all these figurines. It's humongous. It's probably 100 feet high. It's huge. 200 feet. It's big. I don't know. I'm bad with measurement. But it's very like civic, if you will, kind of like broadly secular and civic. And I'm like, I don't know. This seems kind of, it's got like little picture engravings of the pilgrims coming and all that. And of course, when I read the little information thing on the side, it says the cornerstone was laid by the Masons in the late 1800s. And I think we all know what we're talking about. Okay. We got Masons in the house up there. So that was weird. But as I was coming home, so that was great. The trip was good, relaxing. It was silent to a large extent. But as I was coming home, I get on the Southwest Jet Bridge, and there's a guy behind me, and he was the last guy. He was the last guy. He was the last guy behind me. I was A60 for Southwest, which is the last batch. It's probably how I'll get to into heaven. The last guy allowed in there. And I was A60 in the last. So this guy appears behind me. He's got like a captain's coat on, like a airline pilot's jacket with the stripes. I don't know what any of that means. And he's got a little Southwest pin. But no lanyard, no tie. And I think his shirt was untucked, like very slovenly. White guy. Okay. That's important. Because I turn around and I go, "Oh, you're a pilot." He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Oh. So, how long you been with Southwest?" He's like, 3 years. I'm like, tree? What is this guy, like Puerto Rican? I don't know. Just thinking like this guy's like Hispanic or something. So we riff for a minute, and I'm like, "Where are you from, man?" He's like, "Trinidad." What? Yeah. And I could tell he wanted to say "man." Yeah, man. But he's like on the jet bridge, he's like at work, or whatever. He's like in his workplace. He can't be like, "Yeah, man." He's like, yeah. I go, what are you, the only one? He's like, no. And he wanted to say man. He wanted to be like, no, man, no. But he goes, no, no, no. There's a few of us. It's less than 1% of the country, you know. And I'm like, a white Trinidadian pilot? Are you the rarest person on the planet? It'd be like meeting a black guy who, when you met him, you're like, oh, you're a pilot? And he's like, yes. Oh, I've been a pilot now for 30 years. You'd be like, what? Where are you from? Oh, China. You'd be like, what? You'd be like, what? Are you lying to me? So I gave him the Larry David, speaking of Jews, gave him the Larry David stare. And I was like, you're from Trinidad? He goes, yeah. Again, he wanted to say man. He goes, yeah. I go, Trinidad. What was the dating scene like? He's like, pretty slim. Okay. We were in, what do you call it? A bubble. And I was like, okay, man. So as I'm getting on, I'm seeing I'm walking slow. Everyone else is in the front of the plane. They take the classic position of aisle seat, window seat, hoping that no one sits in the middle because the plane wasn't full. So I'm walking, I get on, and I slow down, like where everyone's sitting. But I'm doing it to see if this guy's legit, because at that moment I'm thinking, is this a catch me if you can moment? Is this guy literally the rarest person on the planet? Or is he full of shit? Is he a psycho trying to get on the jump seat for free? I mean, he looked like it. Like he was like disheveled. And I thought two things are going to happen. They're going to be like, oh, hey, what's going on? Or like, hey, where's your lanyard? Where are you based out of? Where's your lanyard? And use all this jargon, It's like, what's it called when people put on military uniforms? Stolen valor. He has stolen wings. Okay, I was like, this guy has stolen wings. But he gets on and they're like, oh, hey, how's it going? He's like, good, you got a seat, jump seat? Yeah, I'm on. Don't you know, diary? And I'm like, okay. And then the black flight attendant who wasn't gay. Okay, very, very rare. Now, I don't know that, but he made a football joke, so I don't think so. When we were doing the overhead thing, and it's like, this is why I love Southwest the most, because you could sit anywhere, and the flight attendants make jokes. Like in American Airlines, they're like, hi, welcome and thank you for choosing. You're the most prestigious customer in the world, and we want you to sign up for our credit card. And we want to thank individually each section of the plane, especially the business first class platinum diamond club. Like they do the whole rigmarole. We'll be coming out with your subpar prison food on our carts that are impossibly small, and we don't know how they secure them in the back in case of turbulence, but we're going to come through and give you this nasty food. Southwest is like, all right, y'all, welcome. It's kind of hot where we're going. It's kind of hot where we're going. I hope you brought your tank tops and bikinis and whatever. Have a drink for me. All right, bye. Spirit, we all know Spirit. It's like, all right, y'all, buckle up. All right. Don't jump out the plane when we crash. When we crash. Not if we crash. When we crash. You are sitting on municipal bus seats for the remainder of this flight. Our crew, we don't know. We contract them out. They are certified according to the Chinese standards of flying, the Chinese body that we have outsourced our regulations to. Anyway, the steward, he's doing the mask, and he's like, wait till the bag is fully inflated. I heard, and I have to ask my friend who is a pilot, after the show, how much oxygen is really in those things? Because I don't think it's a lot. That's a lot of people to give oxygen for. And I've heard that it's kind of like how they put oxygen in the casinos to make you feel good. And like, they don't put clocks or windows in there. So you just lose track of time and lose yourself like Eminem. And I have a feeling they only give you like 3 minutes, because that's probably when you're going down. Just to give you that one last, and then I bet there's a button by the joystick or like by the lead stewardess, and it's like the button, and it just pumps a little laughing gas in just for everyone's, enjoy, like just a little consolation at the very end. Like they're like, and they're looking at each other, and they're like, and then they press the button, and it's like, like your head rips off. I saw a little 3D thing about that. Your head, they do this thing that in the placard, it goes like this. They're like, all right, if you're going to crash, brace yourself. What do you think that's going to do? It's going to turn you inside out, starting from your butt. Your body will split open and then consume you like a flower. And that's how you die. I don't want to go out like that. I'm going to sit up straight. In fact, the guy I was flying with, he's told me that he was in an airplane that ran out of fuel midair. And he knew that because, when you're in an airplane, it's just, or it went from to nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then, of course, the men noticed it. And they leaned over to their wives and go, I think this plane's not flying anymore. I think they ran out of fuel or something because the engines aren't on. And so they glided for like 5 minutes. And then apparently there was reservoir fuel in the wing. I don't know if that's true. I think they're lying. And the engines kicked back on and they made an emergency landing, refueled, and went on their way. And then they offered everyone counseling. No, you're giving me free flights. You almost killed me and you terrorized me for forever. So anyway, the stewardess, this flight attendant guy, he's like, all right, when the bag's inflated, unlike Tom Brady's football. So that's how I knew he was straight. Anyway, I'm walking in and I notice that they've kind of warmly greet the guy. So I'm like, okay, even if he's catch me if you can, like, I don't think he's a pretty small guy. I don't think he can like overpower, because the pilots are in there like this. And if someone comes up and is like, hey man, and grabs, it's like karate. All you have to do is go a good, like a elbow to the face right there. And then maybe if they're like up, if it's a big plane, I guess, I don't know. They're all small, the cockpits, you can elbow in the balls. But I remember as a youth being able to go up in the front of the plane while it was flying and they'd be like, hey, come sit on my lap, with like a toddler who could grab the joystick and just, or the yoke or whatever, and just go, Phew. I'm sure it's happened where a pilot's been sitting there and the toddler is bouncing on it. And the dog's like, nah. I'm like, whoa, okay, Mom. Mom, here, I think we're ready. I think we're ready for Jimmy to go back. So as I'm walking slowly listening to this, these women look up at me from their seats. And I'm a big dude, 6'4", 270. Okay? Big guy, broad guy. And they looked up at me like kind of like, please don't sit here, man. Like, what are you doing? The rest of the plane is empty. Like, why are you walking slow and looking down as you're listening to the Catch Me If You Can? Yeah, man. Trinidadian? That's bullshit. I am going to find him. And I'm going to ask every pilot I know to listen for a Jamaican. And then you're going to ask, are you a white Trinidadian? And if he's like, yeah, man, then it's real. He's a real pilot. Anyway, the women were looking up at me. This one woman looked up at me like kind of like seats taken from Forrest Gump. And I'm like, okay. But I'm processing the yaman. And then I keep walking as I'm like, it could be Catch Me If You Can, but maybe not. And another woman gives me the look. And I'm like, and I kind of go like this at her, like, all right. And I keep walking and get a seat. And I thought, that's what it must have been like to be black right after the Civil Rights Act. Like, where they're like, I mean, I'd rather you not. Like, that's it, though. I mean, like, that must have been what they're talking about, where it's like, you don't know what it's like to be black after the Civil Rights Act or in that time. Yeah, I kind of did that day, honestly. Big lives matter. Wide size matters. And I'm a wide guy. And they did not want the wide guy next to them. Now, I'm not fat, which comes sometimes with a smell, which is, you don't want that. And if they got to get up, you got to get out, and then you got to. Anyway, so that was my experience flying. So yeah, we get home, and another thing, in Boston, I was talking to the young guy, and I was like, man, there's a lot of hot women here. They're like, yeah, but they're all dog moms, and they let their dogs shit everywhere, like all over the city. And I'm thinking, that's not true. How do they shit everywhere? Like who would let their dog just shit on the street? But there's no yards there. It's like, cracker box houses from the 1800s and stuff. And so we get back from where we were, and we're going into his apartment, and this woman stops out in front of the door, and the dog is shitting. And so I go, oh, you're right. They do let their dog shit all over the place. As she was standing there, and she kind of like looked up, like, I can hear you through my AirPods. Okay. You know, I was like, well, you know what? That's sad. Too bad. We walked in. So yeah, people let their dogs shit in the street in Boston, I guess. So we talked about the Pope. Man, I got a lot to how long have we been going? What's the time? Only 41? I like to keep it under an hour and a half. Or under an hour. So 15? Yeah. Is that right? What do you think? What's a good length? Hour. Yeah, hour. All right. So I've got a lot to catch up with you on. We closed the pediatric transgender clinic through the power of the rosary. I hosted a rosary while I was gone from you. I hosted a rosary every day for a year, every Saturday for a year. And we had anywhere from like 3 to like 12 people come to the rosary. And we didn't have sign. We had one sign because this Gen X guy brought it. And we're like, all right, it's fine. And it was huge. It was like a tradition family property or whatever, that TFP, like Brazilian group. That's, you know, if you know trad stuff, you know what I'm talking about. They wear the red sashes and they look like Clark Kent, you know, with their like fedoras and stuff on. And they have like the analog bullhorn, like they're in a Ralph Lauren commercial for like, we're going to the big game. Georgia Tech versus the Rambling Rat. You know, they have literal like analog megaphones, and they wear these sashes, and I love the guys. Like, I'd love to hang out with them, and I'd love, like, they're doing good work. They're going to colleges saying like, oh, but they get in their little analog megaphones, and they do this like kind of tough guy chant where they're like, abortion is murder, and they all chant it like that with the trail off. You're like, dude, okay, like, we don't all want to wear suits. Like, I get it. We need to go back to return with the Roman V. Okay, I get it. Like, we need to return and all that, but like maybe not return to like a LARPy kind of 50s thing. It's just my only critique. I like the guys, but why was I even saying that? Oh, so we weren't like that, but we prayed and prayed. Then I told Matt Walsh. He had just dropped the bomb on Boston Children's Hospital. Not literally, okay? AI. He had just put him on blast and had stirred that, kicked that hornet's nest. And then like 2 weeks later, I met him at a baptism, and I was like, hey man, I follow you I don't watch your show, but I follow you on Twitter. I love what you did with Boston. Did you know there's one at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital right down the road? And he looks up and he's like, I'm very interested in that. That interests me greatly. I'm like, doesn't it? It interests me greatly. So anyway, then my dad ran into like a state senator, and he was like, hey, and the guy's like, you know, how's it going in big old Nashville, you know? And he's like, it's good. You know, my son's been doing a prayer thing. My parents are Catholic. He's like a prayer vigil to stop this, I don't even know how to say it, like pediatric transgender clinic. I don't know. They're like, I don't know. And he's like, is that right? At Vanderbilt. Well, that just can't stand. That won't stand in this state. I'll tell you that. And then that guy introduced the bill to ban it all. People think God's not real. He's real. Okay? Our Lady is real. She's powerful. Trust me, when you do a rosary, it's like, I don't know why she wanted us to do it so many times, but she did. She likes it, okay? And I guess after a million times, she's like, okay, we're going to just shut it down. We're going to stop them from mutilating children. And talk about, they say eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven, right? How about eunuchs for your mom, to salve your mommy's Munchausen syndrome? Okay, okay, Amberleaf, we're going to go to a hospital, and even though we eat all organic foods, we're about to massively genetically modify you and make you infertile forever. Okay, yeah, you're 3. Uh-huh, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Insane. We live in a clown world. And I don't have to. It's so past A to even say Clown World at this point. Like, it was funny and honk honk and all that, but it really is clowny. It's evil, and we live in opposite day. At the end of the day, they want you to think that everything that is good is bad, and everything that is bad is good, and they want you to refer to them by names they weren't given by their parents. They want you to refer to them by the wrong pronouns and all that stuff. They want you to think sodomy is healthy and good, and we should be teaching second graders how to whack off. That's what they want to teach you. And when you're in second grade yourself and you're on the playground and someone's like, hey, so opposite, you're ugly. you're really slow and stupid. It's opposite day. I hate you. You're not my best friend. You can maintain that for like 3 minutes. And then you're like, I kind of want a snack. You want to go to the water fountain? Okay. Like, no, I don't. I'm not thirsty. Like, okay, that's enough. I'm done with the opposite day. That's annoying. It taxes my frontal cortex. It's not efficient because it's not true. And it's acting. I'm not an actor. I'm a second grader. And I'm a 37-year-old man. And I have eyeballs and ear holes. And I use them to look at the world. And I notice. And I know you're all noticers here. You're in a safe space for that. It's the noticing show, the noticing hour. We're all noticers, and we notice things, and we go, that's not real. And a good friend of mine who's a seminarian, he told me, yeah, they want you to think it's opposite day. Yeah, they do. They want you to think it's opposite day, and we're not going to stand for it. So yeah, the transgender clinic got closed, but not before a black demoniac tried to kill me in her car. Okay, I was riding my bicycle to the thing. And I'm riding along, and I'm a little autistic with cars, but some of the car guys here, if you are, 2015, last year they made them, Scion TC Coupe, flat gray, okay, solid gray. It's coming down the road, and my lizard brain is going, I'm thinking about something else as I'm riding. I've been commuting my bike for forever. Then it comes down the road, and it turns, and it accelerates towards me. And I go, so I veer off. I've got a 380 in my pocket, a pistol, okay? It veers off and hits my hip, and I bump over like 3 feet. And I go, what? I go, whoa. And this black lady, demoniac, let's be clear. A demoniac of color, I'm sorry. She starts yelling at me through her window, which is like, it's a newer car, but the tint, it's not quite Walmart purple. But it's not like a great tint. Anyway, again, autism. She has something silver in her hand. And I can see that it's like one of those cheap little like push button flashlights you get at the checkout counter at Lowe's. Sorry, Zen change. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a gun? No, it's a shitty little flashlight. And she's waving it at me. She's going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like Antifa. It's 33 degrees out. It's in January of last year. I have a balaclava on, like this. I have jeans and a black hoodie and boots and gloves. You can't even tell I'm white except for the fact that I'm riding a bicycle at 33 degrees. That's the whitest thing. And I love white people. You know why? Because we like cold things. It's okay. It's good. My friend, my Haitian friend, he doesn't like cold things. That's okay. It's good. It's fine. But I like cold things. Anyway, so she peels out, and I sprint on my bicycle to this greenway. And I hop off, and I call the cops. Then I call my buddy at the rosary, and I was like, dude, I can't make it. This lady hit me, and I'm waiting on the cops, which in Nashville, in the West Precinct, there are 4 police officers for about 200,000 people. Okay? That's at any given time. There's only 4 patrol cars for every 200,000 people. So it took Metro 35 minutes. This is at the intersection of a major interstate on a Saturday morning in the cold. There's nothing going on. Everyone's partied all night. You know, maybe I'm sure there's stuff going on because obviously, but then when they showed up, there were like 4 cars, and every cop except for the arresting officer was 21. They looked like babies. And they're like, hello, sir. Just want to let you know my body cam is on. And I'm like, okay, cool. So everything you say and do will be recorded. And I'm like, yes, I can make that inference. I didn't say that. But I was like, okay. So tell me what happened. Well, this black demoniac. No, I didn't say that. I'm riding my bike up the road, and this lady hit me. But I'm not done with what happened next after she hit me. So she hit me, and I ride up and I make the call. And then while I'm on the phone with my buddy at the rosary, I go, oh my gosh, this lady's back. And she was pointing her car at me. But luckily I was behind a tree, and there was a huge curb. And now a Scion TC Coupe's low to the ground. It's small. It's not a Tahoe or something. And all of a sudden she peels out like she's going to come at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have I gone to confession? I was like, have I gone to confession? Yeah, that was like one of the last thoughts. Then she slams on her brakes mid-road. Like she's so here's the road, and she goes this way and stops in the middle of the lane. So this new Lexus turns the corner and goes around her. He's probably thinking, what is this lady doing out in the middle of the road? You know, I got to go around her a little bit. So I come out of the tree cover and wave him down. And he stops. Have you heard this story? You've never heard this story? I wave him down. I'm like, yo, hey. And he stops. And dude, it's 8:40 in the morning. Okay. He's gone to the coffee shop. He's got his little coffee. He's in a brand new Lexus SUV. He's probably 55 years old. And he looks at me and he's like, he rolls the window down. I go, dude, you got to let me in your car right now. Okay. This lady in that car is trying to kill me. And he's like, I go, I'm not playing, dude. You got to let me in your car right now. I live down the road. I'm married. I'm not. Okay. Just let me. And he goes, get in. Get in. I get in the car. When I shut the door to the car, she peels out towards the car. I slap him on the shoulder. I'm like, go, dude, go. So he floors this Lexus. Floors it. Like sucked back in the seat. Pretty sporty SUV. Sucked back in the seat. She comes within no lie. I know this guy. Wow, I just spoiled the story. Damn it. All right, wait. I'm going to cut that. She's back 3 feet. I'm going to cut that. She's 3 feet behind us. And this is why I love men. No homo. As he's redlining his Lexus after a leisurely coffee run with a stranger in his car in hot pursuit with a woman 3 feet behind him, he doesn't even look away from the road. We're going 70 miles an hour in a 25. He goes, ex-girlfriend. Oh, he goes, good morning. And I go, good morning. And he goes, ex-girlfriend. I go, I have no idea. Then she slams on her brakes, goes back to where she was, revving her engine at me. And he turns to me and he goes, hey, is your dad so-and-so? And I go, yeah. And he goes, he hired me in the 80s. I've known you since you were a little boy. Wow. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm on my way to the rosary and a demon's trying to kill me. A demon sent a Scion TC Coupe, and my guardian angel said, here's a Lexus with butt warmers. Get in. So I did. I got in. And I called the cops. I already called the cops, so we waited. She gets out of her car, gets an American flag off this house she was in front of, and like puts it over her face and starts screaming. But she's dressed like business casual, like a government employee. Like she's not hood. She's not like a hood rat. She's like a employed person looking. She's wearing like those those little like black slacks women will wear and like a little sensible blouse. That's what she was wearing. And I was like, what? No. So this is why I also, wives are funny. So I call my wife and I'm like, I almost just got killed. She's like, are you dead? And I was like, no. And I can hear my kids screaming in the background. Like full blown Saturday morning pandemonium. And she's like, are you hurt? And I'm like, no. She's like, why are you calling me? I'm like, okay. Love you too. She's like, I got to go. The kids are all over the place. I'm like, okay, bye. Love you. And I like hang out because I'm with this guy. I can't be like, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm like, okay, bye. Love you too. So the cops show up, arrest her, and they get my statement. And then the old lady whose house the flag that was stolen, of the house that the flag was stolen, she comes out. She's like, excuse me, sir. Can you come here and tell me what just went on? Old Nashville lady. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Can I come in your yard? She's like, oh, sure, honey. Come on. I'm like, all right. So I step up. She's like, I tell her what happened. And she goes, well, that's about the craziest thing that's happened since 1979 at this house. I go, well, what happened in 1979? Well, there was a bum, and he fell asleep on my porch. And when I called, And they figured out whose house it was. They sent about 10 cars. I was like, I wish they had 10 cars to send now. She's like, whoop, I'll tell you what. I go, well, whose house is it? She's like, well, my husband was vice chief of police at the time. So they just, they brought them all out. But that's the most action we've had at this house since then. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Is your husband home? No, he was in a terrible car accident over Christmas. This was January. Over Christmas, he was hunting ducks in Arkansas, coming through Memphis on 40, and he got in a wreck and flipped his truck, and he's tore up pretty bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry to hear that. What's his name? She's like, Charlie. I was like, all right, well, I'll pray for him. I'm sorry. We spent Christmas in Memphis, at the hospital. It's pretty bad. I'm like, oh gosh. All right, bye, lady. So Monday comes on, and I do RCIA. I help run the RCIA at my church, and the topic was death, like the 4 last things: death, judgment, heaven, hell. So we open it with death, and like, any death stories we want to share. Anyone had any impactful? I know everyone's experienced this, kind of thing. And it's like, and I was like, yeah, I almost got murdered on Saturday morning. And I tell the story, but I forget to tell about the flag lady because it's not important. The important thing was getting hit by the lady and all that. So at the end of the RCA, we did another prayer request. And this woman who goes to this all the time was like, I'd like to pray for my old client and her husband. He was in a terrible car wreck. And I'm like, and around Christmas time, and I'm like, was he coming back from Arkansas? She's like, yes. And I was like, did he flip his car on 40 in Memphis? Yes. Is his name Charlie? She's like, yes. How do you know that? I was like, that's the lady whose flag it was that got yelled into by the demoniac. And the whole room was like, yo, what? And I was like, I don't know. Honestly, God's real. If he's going to make it obvious by this kind of stuff, that's fine. I need it. I'm half retarded. I need this kind of consolation. So then I go to the where are we at time? Hour or something? 58 minutes. Wow, perfect. I'm going to land it at this. So then I go to the courthouse downtown, which, by the way, I was the only white person in line. There was this black guy in front of me. If you're not from like a black part of the country, like the South, I live and breathe it. That's where we're from. That's how it is down here. And this black guy in the front, he had these Gucci sunglasses on, right? And like Gucci everything. Almost like Gucci Mane. And the woman in front of him turned around. She goes, those glasses are pretty cool. They're pretty slick. And he goes, yeah, they got Bluetooth. She goes, nuh-uh. He goes, mm-hmm. They got Bluetooth. She goes, so you can take a call? He goes, call, music. Don't need no headset. Just put these on. They got Bluetooth. She goes, can I see him? He goes, mm-mm. I don't let nobody touch him. And I was like, yo, can I see him? I didn't see him. I wanted to see him. That's kind of cool. Like, are they in the, I didn't see a thing, so maybe they're like right by the ear, but that'd be kind of like annoying. You'd be in the, where are you going to wear? You can only wear them outside. I guess if you wear them inside, Anyway, I get in there, and the DA's like, all right, okay, go ahead and have a seat in the pew. Have you ever been in a courtroom? There's pews, or at least in the one, like the gallery or whatever. I'm sitting there, and there's like a bunch of people behind me, and they're like, and there was, and there was a cyclist too. And I'm like, that's me. They're like, oh, you were the cyclist? I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, she like broke my window. And then this little lady, like little preppy young woman, she's like, yes, I was out for my morning jog. And like, pearls in her ear. She's like, I was out for my morning jog. And I'm so glad I don't wear any headphones when I run because I heard gravel behind me and there was a car trying to hit me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, so she must have done that right after she tried to hit me. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. She goes, yes. I go, where do you work? She's like, Vanderbilt. I go, oh, what? Like, she's like, children's. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? I swear I heard her say endocrinology. which is the department that the trans clinic's in. You can just silence that. Who is it? My wife? Yeah, just actually. Yeah. And I turn around. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the hell? Okay. I go, oh, okay. I'm like looking at the judge's bench, like waiting for him to arrive, and I'm just like, what is happening? Okay. So they bring her out. They have me go up for to testify what happened. So I get up there and like, do you swear to all? Yeah, I do. So help you God. I'm like, yep, I love God. And I get up there and I recall what, and they're like, is the woman who struck you sitting here today? And I'm like, yeah, she's right there. Can you describe what she's wearing? I'm like, yeah, the blue jumpsuit. I'm like, okay, I know you got to do it for the stenographer, which is I'll save that story for next time. But anyway, long story short, the cop was there, the arresting officer, because he's a witness. And I go up to him and I go, hey, this guy's probably like 45, 50. And I go, hey, was she like high? And he goes, I've arrested a lot of crazy people. Because you can't say crazy anymore. What? People are crazed. She was a crazed individual. Okay. Can you look up the definition of crazed? Thank you. And he goes, and she wasn't high, or at least high like I've ever seen. And I was like, okay. What was it? I go, what was? She goes, it was, what is crazed? What does it say? Insane or wildly out of control. Yeah, you're crazy. That lady was wildly out of control, at least. But she wasn't insane, I don't think, because the cop was like, she wasn't crazy. And, we did all the field testing she wasn't drunk. It was something. And I go, oh, it was something. And he goes, yeah, it was something. And I go, oh, it was something. Parentheses, a demon. It's simple as she had a demon and she tried to kill me and this other lady. So I turn back around after all that and I go, so endocrinology. She goes, no. Gastroenterology. There's way more syllables than endocrinology. Gastroenterology. 7 syllables. I'm retarded. 7 syllables. Endocrinology. 6. Okay, one more syllable. So not that far of a stretch, but I go, oh. She's like, yes, actually I work down the street and I'm moving like away from Nashville. And I'm like, okay. All right. So at the very end of the thing, I was like, so gastroenterology. She's like, at this point, like, yeah, why are you asking me? Like, I don't know you. I know we had our trauma bonded right now, but like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I swore you said endocrinology because I was down at Vanderbilt for a prayer vigil regarding the endocrinology department. And that would have been crazy. She would be like, yeah, that would have been crazy. And I'm like, okay, I swear she said endocrinology. Now, it was early in the morning. Maybe she misspoke. Long story short, I'm talking to the DA and the public defender, and they want me to roll up all these felonies into one felony and then let her out on mental health probation. And all these libs were there whose property got broken into, and they're like, yeah, she's never offended before. We should just let her, go out on mental health probation. And I go, guys, this isn't Sweden. Okay? I wish it was in that way, like that we had beautiful IKEA, holding facilities for the deranged, but we don't. And mental health leave or whatever, mental health getting out on that, they never take their medicine. It's like 10% compliance rate. And I go, so you mean to tell me that I could run someone over in Nashville and go have the DA themselves say, let's just let him out. He's a first-time offender. He's obviously having a hard time. Let's let him out. I go, I'm sorry, what was her job before this? No lie. The guy goes, she was a shuttle driver. I go, are you a shuttle driver? I go, this is Seinfeldian. This is wild. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's like talking openly to the people. I'm like, no, I'm going to prosecute. We're going to prosecute. And he's like, okay, all right. I get a call 3 months later. I get a text from this like victim identification network thing from the sheriff, the county jail. And it's like, such and such has been released, like pre-trial release. And I'm like, what? And I have no, I don't have much involvement with the criminal justice system, and no one I know does really. Okay. That's not our thing. And so I go, I call, and they're like, sheriff. And I was like, hey, is this the sheriff's office? She's like, sheriff. And I go, okay. I was calling about a text I got. She's like, okay. I was like, such and such got released on pretrial. I just want to make sure y'all had her or what was going on. She's like, all right, let me look. And I go, okay. And then I go, yeah, she released pretrial. And I go, what does that mean? She goes, hold on. Lucinda. And then Lucinda gets on the phone. She's like put on her best customer service voice, which is this. Hi, what do you not understand from what my colleague said? And I go, I'm sorry, I'm very new to these terms. What is pretrial release? The judge let her out, until her court date. And I go, what? Why? She goes, well, maybe because the jail's full, or, he saw fit to do so. And I go, so she's not with you? She goes, no, she gone. She gone. I go, she's gone. She goes, she gone, honey. Do you know this person? Are you the victim? I go, I'm the victim. She goes, she know you? I go, no. She goes, she know where you live? I go, mm-mm. She goes, that's good. That's why we send those texts. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, can you imagine all the battered girlfriends who are getting these texts, and they're like, oh my God. They're like at the grocery store. Oh shit. They let him out. We're not going home. We're going to go to our friends in another city. Like, thank you for disrupting my whole life by letting this violent person out of jail. So she's back in Memphis, where she's from. That's right, y'all. She drove from Memphis that morning to hit me with her car. And so with that, steer clear of demoniacs, pray the rosary, and God will win, and we will win with him. Nighty night, baby. I love you.